I killed my first buck in temperatures like this was 2016. And I'll never forget it was because I just hadn't been used to it. But I killed this buck. I had been in a ground blind for like 4 hours. And I was just like pretty much pre-whitetail DNA. I did film this hunt, but it was like right when it was starting. Remember, I shot the buck. I grabbed my phone. It was dead. So then I didn't know how cold. I wanted to see how cold it was. I remember I watched the buck fall in this field. And I just got up and I ran to my truck because I didn't know if I was going to make it pretty much. And I got in my truck, turned it on. Remember, I had a charger, sat there for a while. Phone pilot came on and I looked and it was like negative 46 with the wind chill. And I literally had to like run by this buck that laying there dead, but I didn't even care like look at him. So I was like, my toes are going to fall off.
You're now listening to the Mobile Venatic podcast. That's a giant.
I screwed up the recording. Restarting right now. We have Alex on. Alex, take it away. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I run Whitetail DNA. Started that in 2017, I believe. And now we've got a crew of, I think, 5 guys. We've built out a team over the last handful of years. And, pretty much it's all centered around deer hunting, turkey hunting in the spring, documenting it all, doing a bunch of YouTube videos, educational stuff, and then podcasts we launched last year as well. So just trying to, shoot a bunch of big bucks and turkeys and document it and bring content along the way. So that's pretty much what I got going on.
What I was going to ask you before Weston had our technical difficulties, do you do any fishing content as well or no?
No, nothing with fishing.
It's all hunting stuff.
Yeah, I don't. And where I live, up here in northern Minnesota, like fishing is huge, and walleye fishing, crappie fishing. And when my dad lived up here, I'd fish just to like hang out with him. But once he moved away, I don't think I've fished since. So yeah, no fishing.
Okay, is that because you're just trying to focus on? I mean, I know you always focusing on content. You guys crush it. You guys crank it out. But I mean, is it also just because it's for me? Like I spend less time fishing just because that's like sinking as much family time, I guess, in and getting stuff done where I'm not taken away from primary whitetail focus, I guess. Is that how it is?
For me, it's like if I'm not doing hunting stuff or business related, I'm spending time with family and we don't have a boat. But like my wife's family has a big boat on Lake Superior. So like I spend a lot of time like on that boat. But, I could see fishing being more of a family thing, like down the road when we have like, kids getting older and stuff, but I don't ever foresee it being a like serious passion or hobby
or content priority and all that.
Yeah. I like if I'm going to be out there, if I'm going to be on a boat fishing right now, I'm going to have a beer in my hand and no cameras. So
the way God intended it.
Pretty much. Well, it's funny because hunting, for as much as I love, the content creation and it's part of what I do for a living, like at the end of the day, like there's been a time in the last almost 10 years where hunting's just been like strictly for fun. Like I want people to get confused. It's still fun, but it is at some level always work now. So
yeah, no, we definitely feel that at times too. I mean, 100%. I mean, I've been doing this for, you said what did you say? 8 or 9 years you've been doing this for?
2017 is when I started. So whenever that is.
I graduated in 2015. And so 2016 was my first full-time year in the industry. So it's just as long as you have. And I think it's taken its toll. I mean, I've kind of been filming.
Did you just say you graduated in 2015?
From college.
Oh, I was going to say.
Sorry, college.
I'm bad at math, apparently.
Yeah, 2011 for high school, 2015. God, yeah. So, no, it's
been held back a few years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it to your level, Alex, by any means, but it takes its toll, and self-filming especially. You guys do a lot of team stuff, which is great. I do more of the self-filming, and Bobby, you do a lot of self-filming too.
It's just like weird to think, like I couldn't tell you the last time I went into the deer woods without a camera, which is kind of like weird to think about it in that way.
Yeah. Again, something might change with kids too, just go out there, kill a doe, meat, whatever, first deer, not necessarily take the camera out there.
Right.
But then again, you want to record it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if you're not doing it for content purposes, like for just your own purposes, right? And like, I mean, I think that's going to be for me. I'm going to like do a lot more, photography and video stuff like for me as like kids get older and have kids and all that good stuff.
100%. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I've got 3. My oldest is turning 6 here in a few days at the time of this recording. So I mean, we're really starting to. I mean, she expressed a lot of interest in killing a deer. She's definitely smaller, so I'm trying to make sure she's ready for it. But and Indiana's got some weird rules and stuff too, where Kentucky's a little bit more forgiving, and getting apprentice license, Indiana's a little bit more involved versus like Kentucky, and we do a fair bit of hunting in both. So trying to figure out when and where we're gonna do it is kind of what's happening, and then getting her ready before it actually turns hunting season, which I didn't do a good job of that this past year. If it's a priority for her, I'm gonna make it a priority for me this year. But
yeah, that's cool.
That'd be fun.
Like for us, we live right now like in town on a busy road, and like having a baby this coming year, like now in my head, I'm like, all right, I've got about a 4 to 5 year window where I want to make sure I've moved. I want to be somewhere where there's some land where I don't really care if the hunting's like phenomenal, but somewhere where I could just like introduce my kids to hunting and stuff like that, and not have to just be able to go out the back door, which would be so nice because I hate that I can't do that.
Yeah, no, my priorities definitely shifted to that kind of focus too. I mean, and it's, especially with, for me personally, it's like if I'm relying upon a private land access that is not controlled by me or maybe my immediate family, I'd rather shore that up, because sometimes, for me at least, there's been a lot of drama that's knocked them off, knocked access off, and I don't want my kids in that either. So trying to secure it has been a main priority. I know, Bobby, you've got it a little different, which is really nice how you've got it laid out.
Yeah, family. It's important. It helps. But you're going to find out soon with the kids that your time just keeps getting shrunk. And the honeydew lists don't stop, but you try to prioritize everything in the off season. It kind of frees you up in the fall and all that fun stuff. But we are like way off a track where this podcast was supposed to start with. Let's bring it back. You're obviously Whitetail DNA, so specialty is like whitetails, and you started with a blog, if I remember correctly, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
And like from that blog to now, what is probably like one of those things that, well, let me rephrase that. Technology shifts. We see that in the hunting industry. We see it all the time. And you took that path of going from a blog to the video realm, basically. And do you see that just still sinking most of your time into YouTube, or do you want to try to even expand even further back? And do you still do the blog?
Not really. I don't know if we put up any blogs last year. The goal would be to do a few this year just to get some traction going with the website again, because our, like you said, it went from primarily like a blog to YouTube. And back in the day when I had no YouTube subscribers, I actually had some really, really good web traffic. And now the web traffic's, fallen off the cliff, but I put nothing into it. So you get nothing out of it, where YouTube's grown. But still, YouTube, we're, tripling down on this year. We're really trying to increase the cadence and just put more out there, because I just feel like that's where it's at right now. And I mean, like you said, evolving into video. I mean, that's now essentially it turned into what I do for a living. So it's kind of like all video photo. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fun stuff.
And now this 2024 was the first year for the podcast too. So you added a whole new side of it.
Yeah. And that's been really nice, because we brought on a new team member, Jeremy Lopez, this past year, and he kind of spearheaded the podcast. And I literally bought equipment to do a podcast in 2017, and then just never did it. And, you don't have time. Like you were saying, my time's already so shrunk. And Lope's like, hey, if we do a podcast, I'll handle all the back end stuff, and you just got to record. I'm like, well, that makes it easier. You still got to carve out the time to do it all. And, doing one a week makes it semi-difficult, but I've liked it so far. There's actually people listening to it, which kind of surprised me. So
I like your guys' podcast. It's kind of like straight to the point. And we're dancing around a lot with basically a topic, but you guys really are good at sticking to topics. And I enjoy that about it.
Well, I try to keep them, if the correct topic warrants it, we'll go longer. But I kind of prefer that, like, pack as much as you can in like 40 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, but there are some that go, 90 plus, but those are few and far between, I think.
Yeah. 100%. And remind, if people didn't catch it, remind people where you are location wise, because this is going to spear into our next topic, which is just the late season hunting, and then obviously like how your 2024 season went as a whole, and hopefully we end up somewhere where we're talking about what your guys' main objectives are for 20, or your personal, and then your team, like where you guys trying to focus for 25.
Yeah, so all of our team is based up in northern Minnesota, Wisconsin. So me and Luke live in Duluth, Minnesota. So like right up by Lake Superior. Garrett and Lopi live across the bridge over in Wisconsin, and then Caleb's down in Nebraska. But all of our cold weather hunting is happening in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota primarily.
Yep. Yeah. And then like I said, you're getting into North Dakota. Me and Bobby headed up there. Bobby's now been up there twice. I've only been up there once. And that was my first experience. Bobby, was your first experience too, right? Like from the Western side? Okay. Western Whitetail. So yeah, I mean, that was really crazy cool. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean,
Well,
it was
you also branched out in Nebraska because Caleb's down there.
Yep. Nebraska doesn't count. I don't kill any deer there. So
yeah. So
you just go sightseeing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. If you're listening, Alex, they just released that video on basically the summary of your attempts right out there in Nebraska and your emotional ride going
I feel like
across
every Nebraska video is just the same dang thing repurposed. Like, go see a bunch of bucks, don't kill one, be sad about it, say you're never going back, and then you go back again.
Then you kill your biggest buck, and then all the videos are the most watched.
Right.
All the struggle.
Yeah, you did kill a slammer in Nebraska, or not Nebraska, North Dakota. I'm sorry, that thing was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, just
compared to Nebraska.
Yeah, but it's weird, like, to shoot a deer like that 3 days into my season, and then not to shoot another deer across multiple states the rest of the year. But
and then span from that early season hunting, where it's hot and windy, and then you're now grinding it in the late season, and it's the temperatures you're describing to me sometimes when we talk are insane. And that's where my mind jumped to like late season. Cause like for me, I don't do a whole lot of late season hunting. I did when I was doing a lot of private stuff, cause I did have like standing beans or whatever. But right now, like once it gets to Thanksgiving and Christmas, I hate to admit it, I'm in a lot of ways checked out. Like I will do some doe stuff, but that's it. I'm not going gung ho in public, at least for sure anymore, trying to go chase a late season buck down. That's just, I'm not sinking time into it.
Well, it sounds like next year's hunt that we do together, guys, we'll just do North Dakota late season and just plan it right now. You guys, hopefully it's -30 and we can make it happen then.
I'd love to plan something for January in that ATA time frame anyway. So
yeah,
I'll be game for it. And then like for me, like just watching you guys again hunt some stupid cold temperatures up there, and you guys are, well, how late does your season go for up there in Wisconsin, Minnesota?
End of the year. But in North Dakota, usually it goes to the end of like that first week of January. So like this year was January 5th. So depending on where we fill tags, where we have and where we're at, we're usually either out there or here, a mix of both.
So is there any states around you right now that are still open?
No, but so Wisconsin's got a subunit that stays open till the 31st of January, like that. I theoretically could go hunt today if I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It's just at that point, it's like I don't really feel like hunting until the end of January, and there's not like a ton to go after, and the spots aren't that great. So theoretically, if I needed to fill it, like a doe tag or something, I could go hunt till the end of January.
Yeah, and shed bucks too, right? I mean,
right.
You guys dealt with that already, right?
Yeah.
Lopi's
buck that he killed on December, I want to say 17th, something like that. I mean, he shot it with 2 antlers, and when we found it only had 1. So we had to go on a shed hunt after. And then the other side also popped off when we went to grab it. So both sides popped off. But yeah, that's definitely, I think that's the third time that's happened to us in the last handful of years. I mean, so this time of year is just, you never know. And this year, for whatever reason, we haven't had that bad of a winter. I mean, it's cold now, but like during season, it wasn't that bad. And so we've had a lot of deer shed early this year.
Last year was the same way. Like you didn't get snow until March. I mean, it was the same over here because we were going to go shed hunting in Wisconsin, right? Isn't that what we were doing? All of a sudden, the week before, you're like, "Oh, finally got snow. Time to get the snowblower out."
Yeah, yeah. Even this year, it's been a little bizarre. We only have probably 6 inches of snow right now, and last year we had hardly no snow till that last little storm at the end of the year, and then the year before we had record-breaking snowfalls, 100 and whatever inches, and so
I remember you talking to feet. Like you could, like you were taking pictures of like your grill or whatever in your back porch. I was like, dude, you're dealing with like your garage and shoveling walls of snow. It was crazy.
Yeah, you just never know what to expect up here. But
Did you guys hunt hard that year too? When you guys had all that record snow?
Yeah, that year. So that was 2 years ago. Yeah, we actually. So usually I'm the guy that says the more snow, the colder, the better. Like that year, we just had too much snow to make like the hunting good. And we were out there like literally trying to shovel paths for the deer to like and it kind of worked, but not to the extent we wanted to see if they would just stay on a trail. But yeah,
that's a good idea. I never thought about that.
What's forgive me, I don't know. Is there any there's not baiting up there, right? Is there? No. Okay.
Not in North Dakota, obviously, but not in Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin actually, yes, but they have very strict baiting laws. It's like 2 gallons at a time. Don't quote me. I haven't had a Wisconsin tag in a while, but Minnesota, no.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So that's how Michigan used to be that way until CWD hit. And I think they followed somewhat of the guidelines of Wisconsin trying to fight that disease, except the one thing that I know they didn't do was earn a buck program. And so it's kind of curious. I didn't realize they allowed baiting again, which I'm not going to get into the whole politics of baiting and not baiting and diseases because I'm not versed enough in it, but it is kind of surprising.
And I know there's certain zones in Wisconsin you can't bait. So it's all, I don't know enough of where you can and can't, but I know where I would hunt in Wisconsin, I could bait. So
yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. So this year, Lopi, and then Luke killed one. We're not missing anybody, right? They both had back-to-back, right? It was like within
a couple days
apart.
Yeah. In December there. Yep. So we were able to have a little bit of late season luck.
Yeah,
which was nice.
feel like you guys are consistent in the late season. I mean, I know you're consistently hunting, and you guys have like, just with our relationship, I'm like, I see a lot of winter and content. Like you guys are really going after it in the late season, always chasing deer, and usually, like I remember specifically, like it seems like year after year, you guys are killing every single time in the late season.
I mean, really, it's all it comes down to is finding a buck, and if we can find a buck to hunt, the month of December is the best time to kill them for us. The easiest, I guess, if you get those right conditions. And so they actually, thank goodness they killed when they did, because they both killed the week before Christmas. And then that's when I also had my opportunity at the buck that I was after that I just wasn't able to execute. And then it got warm. So like the last, I don't know, 7-8 days of December, it was like damn near 40 degrees. And for up here, that's like July.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the deer movement really just shut off.
I feel like this year we didn't get those cold temps. Like we were talking about that, like in November, we had like 1 or 2 days in the 20s, and that wasn't necessarily normal. But then in December, like we finally started getting that cold. And I was talking to Bobby because I had planted winter wheat in one of my plots instead of winter rye like I usually do. I couldn't get deer to feed in it. I was like, man, I made a mistake doing winter wheat, but he was talking me into like that cold snap, really snapping them, it's the sugars back in. And it did. It finally turned on, it seemed like, but just the lack of the cold temperatures sucked.
Yeah, I was talking because you were talking about you weren't sure which wheat you got, and I was telling you white wheat has a higher
white. Yeah, I didn't pay attention. I was just throwing stuff out there like I normally do.
Yeah,
right.
I haven't concentrated on food plots as much. I mean, that's how actually we got started, Alex, was way back in the day on Deer Grow. Like that used to be like this really nice plot. I'm just throwing rye out there right now. I'm doing like the Jeff Sturgis method. I'm just throwing stuff out there and like,
dude, it works.
Barely
It works,
planning.
and it's cost effective. That's the thing.
Dude, this same
Cereal
field
grains?
was like the like the double layer bean fence, Eagle seed beans, where you're getting standing beans. Like, dude, I think I spent like $1,000, and now it's just like I throw $200 of rye at it, and I'm done.
Yeah,
Works.
It works. It does. So you guys say December. Where, like, if you could drill it down, your guys' success, Luke and Lopi, and just like year after year, and you guys hunting a lot into the late season. Because I mean, I see other people doing it, but I mean, I feel like you guys are really capitalizing on it. If you could summarize it, like what would your top tips be for the late season?
Yeah, for us, like, and we can use this year, for example, we can use a lot of examples, but like, you got to find a buck, because if you've got, generally speaking in December, bucks are, deer in general, they're going to a food source, they're going back to bed, they're, maybe have a couple different food sources, couple different bedding areas, but so you need to find a buck first. And so like for this year, we're all kind of doing our own thing. Essentially for us, like we don't have food plots, ag fields up in, I'm treating this as, Minnesota. So we aren't glassing, we can't see from afar. So it pretty much all comes down to cell cams. We've got a ton of them, and we're moving them around, hanging them, and you're going out, as you have that shift from the rut into the late season in December, and you finally get some snow. I'm going for walks, I'm driving around, and, we do a lot of suburban hunting here in Minnesota, and like neighborhoods are kind of like your food sources. People feed deer, that's kind of what you think of your destination source. And so you're looking for deer trails, you're backtracking into areas you can hunt. So pretty much, for all of us, we found a buck to hunt, and then we'll just use like Luke's, for example. He scouted an area, got permission on it, threw up a camera, and in the matter of 3 days had a buck on camera. He hadn't daylighted, but then he went in and hunted when it was super cold and he showed up at the last half hour. And so really it just comes down to finding a deer, and then being able to, a lot of people it's crazy to me, because when it comes to late season, people will be like, oh, it's negative, whatever, or super cold for wherever you live. And when it gets to a certain point in temperature, people don't want to go hunt, which for me, I'm like, the colder, the better. And when you can still hunt, like right now, I don't need to be cold because I'm not hunting. But when like the buck that I was hunting this year, late season, I got my first picture of him, I want to say December 5th. And then I finally had one encounter with him on the 12th. He was on camera fairly regularly, but it was 9 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock, it was whatever, a couple hours after dark. And then the one day, and again, I am constrained here because I had a 5-acre piece that I was hunting. So it's not like I can try to go find exactly where he's bedding. The one day that I had an encounter with him with the wind chill, it was like -34. And I saw him he came through in the last like 3 minutes, and just the way it went down with how cameras were and everything, I just wasn't able to get a shot. And then I never saw him again the rest of the year. So
was that when you were having to like, were your hands exposed, or you just had your hands on your bow and your
he was coming in, I thought he was so pretty much there was this trail that ended up walking by me at like 18 yards, and I was like, oh shoot, here he comes. So I grabbed my camera, set it up, grabbed my bow, went to like get ready, and he veered off a little bit. And so then I was kind of screwing with my camera, had my bow in my hand. Well, and by the time I was getting ready to shoot, he crossed the tree in front of me, and I just wasn't able to get drawn back. And then he got just slightly downwind of me and immediately stopped and just like looked in my direction. And he wasn't looking up at me, but he could smell me. And he was like, what's going on? And he stood there. This was at now, like it's last minute of light. Can't do anything. Well, I just froze till he moved on. And it took him about like 35 minutes. So now I'm just sitting there in the pitch black. This deer's at like 30 yards and just staring at me. And I just sat there and waited until he moved off. And even when it's that cold, I just keep my hands in my hand muff. so I had no gloves on, and well, I had my merino gloves, but they, you know, don't cover your fingertips or whatever. And I'm pretty sure I had like some type of frostbite on my one finger because it burned for like a week. And
It doesn't have feeling in it.
and then, well, and in my head, I'm like, if I just sit here, don't move, he doesn't look up and bust, I'm gonna still have a chance of this deer. And he didn't bust, and I still never saw him again. So that's just how it goes. I don't know if it was me, if it was just the weather combination, whatever, but it was a bummer.
Maybe came back and sent you and was like, oh, that was what's up.
Yeah, and it's weird because, you know, I'm hunting close to, you know, I'm I don't know, 100 yards from a house. You know what I mean? Like, but these deer are just, there's a difference between, people think suburban hunting is so easy, but it's like when you're back in the woods, they know that difference compared to if you're just a dude like in a yard. So,
oh yeah.
So you guys are kind of like Seek One, but Seek 1A, like we're the Northern boys.
Yeah, we're like Seek One with a lot less subscribers.
Yeah, okay. That's
and apparently smaller deer, right?
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny because the city in which the area in which I bow hunt suburban, when they first introduced the hunt in like 2007, I want to say, I would say where I hunt right now would have been the best place in the world to shoot a 200-inch deer.
Really?
Like the amount of giant bucks. I mean, and they were a ton of them, and they were dumb. They'd never been hunted. But since the hunt started, city hunters have killed, I don't know, 10,000 deer or something like that. So like, it's just
how many big deer were taken out of there that caliber? Close to 200.
More than I think I even am aware of. I know lots of guys that killed 180 to 200s, you know, from 07 to, you know, we'll call it, I don't know, 2012, 2013, probably pretty much as I got into the hunt my senior year of high school, which would have been 2013. I had no clue what I was really doing. My first buck was a 160-inch buck. And
dang.
So, I mean,
the way to start.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
And that was on, and you filmed it?
No, that was.
I was gonna say, how did you not immediately blow up?
No, I know. It wasn't my first buck, but my first buck like in the city hunt. So yeah. But it's changed, but it's still to this day, I think, my best opportunity for a mature big whitetail. So
yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So if you're so negative 35, and I remember, you know, watching this for a while, and then, you know, we started getting some First Light gear, and I was asking you like what I should get out of that. I mean, tip wise for staying warm, and then also I wanted to ask you specifically and touch on it when it gets to like negative 35. Like a lot of, including myself, just hunt from a blind, not a saddle, but you're going in after them still. So I mean, what other tips do you have when it's that cold, late season hunting, and you know, specifically to saddle hunting? Like how did you find that with that many layers, clothing, blah blah blah, you know?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, if you can do it with the ground blind and a heater, I definitely would recommend it. I'm not going to tell anyone like, hey, you should go saddle hunt when it's negative 35.
Exactly.
I'm good. I think I'm a little
negative
bit
35.
Yeah. But like, so the most important thing that I found is you can't get to the tree being sweaty. Like you can get away with it when it's cold, you know, but when it's that cold, what I found, I guess, when it's that cold, you can't cut any corner. You just can't get away with anything. Mm-hmm. And so for me, you know, I'm wearing my base layers, you know, every clothing company, whether it's First Light, Sitka, whatever, they all make good stuff now. You know, be layered properly and don't wear, you know, the biggest, I think, mistake I see is people that would wear their bibs and jacket and everything on the way in. So like these hunts I'm talking about I'm only walking a couple 100 yards. I'll wear my bibs, but all I'm wearing under my bibs is like my long johns. So like, that's literally all I'm doing. But again, I'm zipping them all the way. I'm walking slow. I've got my jacket on my pack. And then when I get to the tree, and I'll wear my face mask on the way in, but I'll wear like a lighter hat. So I'm trying, you know what I mean? But then when I get there,
Yeah.
I'll put the heavier hat on, but I need something over my face because you need to pretty much be covered up. And then I've got my kind of regimen is on a hunt when it's that cold, I usually have 2 hand warmers like in my hand muff. Then I get the peel and stick body warmers, and I'll put 2 on my back. And then I'll make sure I have full length foot warmers in my boots. So you just kind of go warmer up, and then like a heated vest. We've got like heated vests from Tidewee. Numa makes heated stuff. Like having like a heated thing actually did really help, I thought. And then when you get to the tree, put your jacket on. Hopefully you can climb up slow. And then like I'll put my jacket on, then I'll put my saddle on. It's like most of the year I'm just wearing my saddle. And all of this time I'll put it on at the tree. And then when I'm up in the tree, like I guess you don't want to sit for too long, actually. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to time it out where I knew where I was sitting. Seemed like the does were always showing up about 3:30, and last light was 4:50. So I was like, if I could just do it where I'm set up by 3 o'clock, it's about an hour and 50 minutes in the tree, I can survive, and you don't want to go in and be like, yeah, I'm going to sit for 5 hours tonight. Because when it's that cold, it's just, man, it's not really doable when you're, in a tree.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't have a whole lot of desire to do that, but I mean, my late season hunts, it's not if, like going for a doe, like I'm going 200 yards max.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not dealing with temperatures like that though. Either,
I've never been in negative 35 degrees in hunting, and
I don't know if I've ever been in negative 35 period. Like not
with wind chills. Yeah.
Not here.
Yeah, but
not here I haven't.
With your hunt from this year, do you plan on upgrading your glove system?
No, I just think I should have just got through it. I mean, I just like, for me, I don't like having I like having my fingers exposed. So like I've got heavy gloves in the tree with me, but they're in my pack, or so I wear them in and out,
Mm-hmm.
and then keep my hand off. So actually, it's like the worst part of for me, the worst part of a negative 30-degree hunt is the time from when I start packing up till I hit the ground, because it's like your hands just die. I mean, and then you're trying to get them into heavy gloves, and then you're trying to, it's like if you got them in the heavy gloves, you can't really use your hands to do anything. And then they're cold from sitting there, and then when you walk out, they're just dead. So that's the worst part, I think.
No, I agree.
Were you doing a lot of
usually the thickest glove I wear.
Yeah.
Were you doing a lot of full tear down, full setup, or were you leaving presets everywhere for these this late in the season?
Yeah.
Presets.
So I'll go in like the first day I hunted, and it was pretty cold. I hung stuff, but then when it's that cold, I'm not trying to hang and take down every day.
Yeah, and you were remind me of your setup again I think you were on a mission.
Yeah, I was running hyperlight sticks and a mission platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Nimbus saddle, I think, as well.
Yeah, okay. Nimbus. And I would, if you are going to saddle hunt when it's that cold, I do recommend like the biggest platform you can use. Just because, pretty much.
more movement availability.
Yeah, trying to stay warm. And then obviously, I mean, for the most part, like I'm running maybe like those Solomon runners, or some type of like mid-weight hiking boot 90% of the time, but then I'm switching to heavier footwear, which is just bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Bigger. Or I mean, a lot of guys I've been seeing, I don't know, Bobby, do you do this? I don't really have to, but they take that big oversock and then put a heater in the oversock, and they quiet their boots down. But once they're up in the tree, I don't do that. But
no, I've heard from people I know that it works quite well. But I have like 1,600 gram rubber boots or whatever on right now, and that's usually all I ice fish or hunt in when it gets that cold. So
yeah, you guys are more similar than I am. I don't get to that. I just don't. I mean, I'm barely by zero. Like, so
well, it's all just what you're used to and around. Like, I mean, I killed my first buck in temperatures like this was 2016, and I'll never forget it was because I just hadn't been used to it. But I killed this buck, I had been in a ground blind for like 4 hours, and I was just like pretty much pre whitetail DNA. I did film this hunt, but it was like right when it was starting. So I had like Walmart camo pretty much. Remember, I shot the buck. I grabbed my phone. It was dead. So then I didn't know how cold. I wanted to see how cold it was. I remember I watched the buck fall in this field, and I just got up and I ran to my truck because I didn't know if I was going to make it pretty much. And I got in my truck, turned it on. Remember, I had a charger, sat there for a while. Phone pilot came on, and I looked, and it was like -46 with the wind chill. And I literally had to like run by this buck that laying there dead, but I didn't even care, like look at him. So I was like, my toes are going to fall off. And then like quick side story. So that year, 2016, the next week, my buddy T-Ted that you guys know, we were trying to get him a buck, and we were doing these little one-man pushes on this little plot of land. And he missed a buck. It was about negative, I want to say it was like, it was in the -50s with the wind chills, the coldest I've ever been out in North Dakota. And then we got stuck in my truck, and I had like a quarter tank of gas, and my now brother-in-law came and got us out, but it was like 8 hours later. And so we were turning the truck off. When we were starting to get cold, we were turning it back on and starting it. And actually, it never got to the point where the gas was like low, but it was scary. And I was like, why are we hunting in -50?
It could have gotten real weird there.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we doing? And like before we got stuck, he literally sent an arrow over a 140-inch 10-pointer. And I was like, God.
So out of your whole crew, was T-Ted the best to get stuck in the truck with for 8 hours, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah. He's definitely the most entertaining guy.
Right. Well,
that's awesome.
He's like, we were stuck where we could still go hunting. And he's like, do we just go hunt? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to go back out there.
This is borderline emergency situation.
Yeah,
maybe we should.
Right.
That's great. That's all. So I mean, like your 2024 season, like you said, you killed one buck. Lope and Luke capitalized in the late season. How many bucks did Luke end up killing this year? 2 or 3?
2, yeah. So
Okay.
actually, it was Luke's first year of his life that he shot bucks in multiple state, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Lope ended up with was it
2.
2 or 3? Okay, 2 as well.
Lope 2, Luke 2, me 1, Garrett 1. Caleb zeroed for the first time in a long time.
Oh yeah. What the heck happened there in Nebraska with his recurve? Did he hit lower than he thought he did?
I think the deer turned.
Oh, okay.
So only got like a little bit of penetration, and instead of going like into the cavity, it kind of went like up towards the brisket, like kind of like almost along the shoulder.
Yeah.
That deer we ended up
That's while you were out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was super cool because that day I didn't mess up. I just had rattled in a giant at like 11 a.m. that day to like 8 yards. Was never able to get a shot the way this deer came in.
Oh.
Came up a ravine, came right behind me, turned and walked dead away from me. Just like nothing I could do. And then that evening he slipped out of work, went and shot this buck with a recurve. And he called me, and I was in a tree, and he's like, how's it going? You know, I was like, kind of giving me an update. And he's like, oh, I just shot one. I was like, oh, good for you. But no, so we were never able to find it. And then we got that buck on camera a bunch after, so he lived.
Oh, did he? He never sent me. He was Snapchatting me that whole afternoon. He's like, dude, you'll never believe this. I was just standing here. I'm like, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, to even do what he did. I mean, literally shot a buck with a recurve, self-filmed it, standing against a tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At like 5 yards.
Wow. How big was the deer?
Like 100 and probably 20 some inch 8-pointer.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And Garrett's buck, just so people don't know you and follow you, that was on a pretty small piece of ground. How much was it again? Acres?
6 acres, and like
right
half
behind the house.
Half of it is field. Just
And
right behind it.
And how big was that buck?
Haven't scored them, but I would say it's probably somewhere in the mid 50s.
Yeah.
And
That's freaking awesome.
yeah, I mean, that's super cool. He just had bought that house in the spring and right on his own land. And
awesome.
Yeah, so it's super cool. And that area of Wisconsin is terrible typically. Lope lives a few miles from him, puts in a crap ton of work on his property, plants food plots all this stuff. And he's like 130-inch buck show up about every 5 years. And Garrett moves in, just immediately has 150-inch buck show up and shoots them.
Coming from Lope's property, probably.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Garrett's another, just, he's always consistent. It seems like it knocking it. I feel like every time I picture Garrett, he's always got like a 150 plus. All those pictures dragging him out. It's very consistent.
Garrett is a big buck magnet. Like, you could drop him in, I don't know, pick an area you don't think has deer, Rhode Island. I don't know, and there'll be a 170-inch buck there. Like,
I've noticed for as short as I've known you guys, like he is always on something, just mad. Yeah. It's like poof out of nowhere.
Yep. And like even late season this year, he's got a property. As a crow flies, probably 3-4 miles from like where I was hunting late season. And boom, 2 bucks probably in the 150 range showed up, and he just wasn't able to hunt much. And I was like, sure you don't want me to go kill one of them? I mean,
there's two, one for each of us.
Right.
One thing we've been talking about last few podcasts, and a lot off the podcast as well. Just, me and Bobby just talking, and Nick and some of the other guys at Trophyline too, just like talking about how 2024 went. And like, I personally feel like I burned a lot of time in the early season, or not in the early season, late September, because of Kentucky, like no different than like Nodak, right? Like, I burned a lot of time in late September and then early October, where I would have rather not burn myself and my family out that early, and I would have liked to target more of that November. I feel like I'm changing my goals up, not to be out of state as much and trying to focus on home, because I feel like I could pull 2 bucks, Kentucky and Indiana, if I spent time in the home states.
Yeah.
But also shifting that time frame to work off of family and not burning them off, and then like, for me personally, I've killed like 80% of my bucks in that Thanksgiving week, that late November right off the post rut, like right when the post rut's getting started. It seems like, where they're like desperately seeking the last few does. But obviously things are changing for you. You've got a baby due. You've got things happening. So how is that changing for you? What does 25 look like, you think?
I think it'll be, honestly, like, it's weird because this past year, 2024, I hunted like by far the least I've ever hunted in a year in my life. And it just came down to like, it's not like I couldn't hunt. There was a mix of just like not a lot of deer to go after. Business wise, was super busy, stuff like that. And so I think moving into 25 and having a kid, like, it'll be, I'm just going to learn how to be more efficient. And so I think I'll probably end up hunting actually more in 25 than I did in 24. I just think there won't be as many trips for me, and the trips will be shorter. So like, this coming year for North Dakota for early season, for example, we're going to, hopefully Luke will be able to go out there a week early and get a bunch of work done instead of like how I did it this year.
Right.
So I can just show up and hunt for 3 days and whatnot. So I think it'll be more of that. I'm not going to go to Nebraska this year. Going to be spending a little bit more time in Wisconsin with my wife's sister and her husband are going to be moving to Wisconsin. So we're going to be having like a kind of a new little home base, I guess, because they'll be like an hour from us. So
nice.
Wherever they end up getting a house, like soon as they have an offer accepted, I'm going to be scouring Onyx, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It'll definitely be some changes, but I think it'll all, the nice thing is too, for a lot of our Minnesota hunting, I can hunt, areas that are less than 10 minutes from the house, which make it pretty convenient.
Yeah. No, I think that's what, like, I was at this year. It's like, I remember specifically having a conversation with Bobby and Hunter, and Hunter's like, there's some really big deer around here. I'm like, yeah, but they're like right outside of that 1.5 2 hour mark, where it's like miserable to try to hunt.
Yeah.
Even every other day, or just the weekends or something with family time. And I'd rather not mess with, I'd rather spend them anything close as 30 minutes or closer or whatever. Because I can it just never fails, like that repetition of numerous buck encounters and having to chase them over and over and over again to actually connect, especially bow hunting. So I think that's where I'm at. I mean, you said you're spending maybe more time hunting. Are you, and if you go out of state, you're just going to try to optimize weather?
Yeah, I think
intel.
I think it'll be more like, North Dakota we always open with. I think I'll do that again. And then from there, just like optimizing with weather and intel. And, the nice thing is with our schedules will be flexible even with a kiddo. So it'll be neither of us will be tied down to a 9 to 5 or anything. So it makes it a little bit easier that probably a lot of people don't have the ability to do. But and in the future, what'll be nice because like down the road, even if I want to go on longer trips, probably just gonna have the wife and kiddo come with on some of those and like integrate them. And as kids get older, I want to really make hunting a family thing. And so I really want, like I've told my wife, like, you're gonna have to get involved in the hunting portion, not necessarily you don't have to like go kill deer, but like want her to be just involved in, going with and trips and making it like a family thing, just because I think it'll benefit everyone involved.
Yeah.
I'm trying the same thing for next year. I've already put some hunts on the calendar and told my wife, like, hey, you're gonna come. You don't have to do any hunting. You can do whatever you want while you're there. Gonna take the kids out of school. I mean, it's convenient for me for the school thing too, because my cousin is the principal, so I can just give her a real big heads up. So,
Hey, kids aren't going to be in school in November. Sorry,
all of November. But she's only got so much time she can use for vacation, like you were saying. Not everybody has got that convenience or the flexibility. So if it's somebody at home trying to think of like next year already, which next year is now. Start your planning so that your significant other and or your kids or your babysitters and everything else can get stuff on the calendar, because it sneaks up on you faster than what you think it will. It really does.
Yeah. I mean, you would think it's like a whole year ahead, but really everybody on this call starts in September. I mean, even late, you guys start in late August, actually, when you guys get all your pre-work done. So
it's just basically 8 months away, which isn't much.
It's crazy fast.
It is.
I mean, I work from home and my wife stays home and we're like homeschooling. So we have a very flexible schedule. So, I mean, I really need to try to make more of that work with them traveling. It's just, I don't know. I don't like we went to WCB. I don't know if I would enjoy bringing three kids.
That's not
like,
the
spot. No, definitely not with Kurt and them boys. Hey, Kurt, bringing the kids.
Well, and there's certain trips, right? Like not this year because our baby will be in September, 5 months old, but like in the years coming down, like an early season North Dakota trip where we're staying at a campground with campers, like perfect, right?
Your hunts are also super short. The days are long, and we spend so much time at camp, and you don't even have the pressure of morning hunts, so you can be there with the family.
Right. Yep. Something you're essentially camping, and Dad's gone for a couple hours a night.
Yep.
Unless you kill a bunch of bucks and you're up till 4 a.m. That changes things.
Oh yeah, a lot of camp, a lot of celebration, waking the kids up.
Right, but for like going out there for a late season, negative 30-degree hunt. Now, obviously staying in a hotel and just like hanging out again. It's only a couple hours of hunting, but there are just certain trips that probably wouldn't make as much sense, or but picking and choosing your spots, I think it just makes it. If you can make my thought process going forward is in life, especially with like family stuff, if you can make the hunting trips like a net positive, it's a win-win, because, stuff like that. And that's what excites me about having her family, our family being closer, where we're like, I can go to Wisconsin an hour away. She can hang out with her sister and I can go hunting, and it's like just going to visit anyway, So,
right.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I like that. I think that should be net positive, and honestly just trying to be more efficient with time and hunting, and it never fails. Like I hope to change things where I don't get to Thanksgiving week and regret all the hunting I did before, because now the hunting's the best and then I'm already burnt out. I burnt my family out and everything else. So,
and it's a tough thing to, again, I think this year was the first time I ever did it, but like in September and October, I think I hunted 3 times in Minnesota, and it was just like partially was because I didn't have anything to hunt. And then I was trying to like internally, like, okay, I'm going to try and save myself, because this was like the first time I went on a rut trip, like feeling super fresh. Usually like I'm like you, where I hunt my ass off in September, October, you go on a rut trip in November and you're just like already, you do 2 all-day sits. You're like, God dang,
washed out.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, Bobby, has your perception changed about traveling in November?
As far as what? Just like,
not hunting your home state and being just
oh,
bouncing around.
yeah, honestly, like I've already got it written on the calendar. I'll be here in Michigan for the gun opener, but other than that, that's going to be it for November. I'll be other places.
Yeah.
Then this year, like I've said before, was kind of an unintentional stack early season. We drew for Montana, plus we planned on going with you to North Dakota, and then it was quick opening at home and then over to the East Coast. And at that time, I'd already spent almost 4.5 weeks in the woods. And then by the time November got here, I'm like, I'm just going to go hang out and film Weston and Illinois and call it good for the year.
Yeah. And then the cell camera started lighting up with giant deer left and right. And it's
like, well, yeah. And like I was talking to you, Alex, I was going to come down and visit him in December, but the weekend I was going to go, it was 4 days or 3 days of rain. And I would only been able to hunt one day without getting my butt soaked. So I was like, I'm going to spend time with family.
Yeah.
Shift priorities, basically.
Oh,
being nimble on my feet.
Right.
Like it. Well, we're rolling up on an hour. This should be timed when Alex is dropping, all these late season hunts on his YouTube channel. So you guys will be able to probably watch all the stuff he's just talking about. And he's got some other really good stuff coming out with obviously our stuff, Trophyline, saddle hunting, really good stuff. And then we plan on hopefully sharing another hunt camp in 2025 and sharing some more Mobile Venatic stories, especially. I think we got a good one this year. Before
we go, just one question for you, Alex, because like we haven't touched on any of this much in previous podcasts, but mentality for late season, like how do you beat that struggle of it's too cold or it's too much snow? Like, what's your mindset basically?
Got to embrace the suck. That's how I just feel it. Like it's gonna, like I've talked about it. I try not to figure out a word. It's like there's nothing I can say to make it seem like a hunt when it's negative. Whatever is fun, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not, never is. But when you shoot that buck, oof. I mean, I've killed 3 bucks with it being -30, and again, this is with the wind chill or colder. And each one of those, that recovery moment is. I'm not going to say like they're the best I've ever had, but like they're unlike anything I've ever experienced. When it's that cold and you're, every moment you're outside, you've got a face mask on and hat where you've got like this much of your eyes showing and you find that buck and the celebrations, like it's absolutely like unlike anything else. And then when you do like the things that I think about, like I killed one a couple of years ago in North Dakota out of this like snowblind thing that I made. So it was like outside. It was a trip that I did by myself. So I had none of the guys with me. I stayed an extra day to hunt, killed this buck. And then when I killed him, I was just like, who does this? That was like my thought, like not trying to act like I'm that great, but I'm just like, I'm an idiot in a way. Like I killed this buck. He's out in this field. I have no clue I'm going to get him to the truck. It's super cold. I'm like, you know what I mean? But it was
days long. You gave up. You left. Your wife talked you back into going hunting or sticking it out. And the guy builds a snow blind in the middle of it was like -20, I think you said, or something. Wind chill. It was like,
it was
that story actually was one of the and you may have heard this before if you've stuck around long enough with Mobile Venatic and things that we've done. But the original idea for Mobile Venatic and like sharing mobile hunting stories and it. Just that, right? The embracing the suck and chasing opportunities. That was one of the first hunts that inspired that whole thought process was a guy building a snow blind in the middle of a field and suck. Oh, it was a great story. We actually have that up on our YouTube channel.
That was the first one I've ever edited, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. But when you're sitting there and you've got, I don't know, 50 to 70 deer coming at you and you realize you've got this thing in like the perfect spot. I mean, there's nothing like it, it's just incredible, but, and that's why you do it, right? That's what, like, I can just stick myself back into that memory and it's just like one of the coolest things in the world. And when you go into it, you just think like, oh, this isn't going to work. I'm dumb, like whatever. And then when it works out, you're like, holy crap. Would you look at that?
I love watching I love watching all you guys like recovery photos. Like you can tell it's blistering cold. Like it's so cold that the air molecules are freezing. It's just crystals coming across the camera, and like Low P and Luke, like y'all are doing it, and you guys are, but everybody's freezing cold, and you can tell. But it's just like it's whatever. 11 o'clock at night, and it's snowing, and it's miserable looking, but it's awesome, rewarding.
I was going to say the reward is a lot sweeter when you have to put in and at least go through all that struggle and cold. So it makes sense though. Embrace the suck. I like that.
And
it's one of the best slogans ever.
It's so much different than I think about like the buck I killed in North Dakota this year. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. Biggest buck of my life. But I was in a tree for like 2.5 hours and 75 degrees. Pretty sure my shirt was like zipped down. Like it was just like hot, you know what I mean? Like it was like it wasn't even too hot. It was like the most beautiful temperatures you could ever think about, recovering on probably 60 degrees. Like just lovely. You know?
It's lovely.
and for a lot of people too, like a late season hunt might be that like random hunt you just discovered or bonus buck opportunity because you had a good season, and then like that reward is even sweeter because it wasn't even on your radar. So go after it. You like you said, you can learn it as long as you find a buck. I mean, it's pretty simple at that point. If it's super cold, it's food and the transition between, and it's like you can get on them pretty quick and it could be a bonus buck opportunity. You just gotta still embrace the suck, but it could be rewarding, especially in a bonus buck situation, I think.
Yeah. And like you said, happening quick, like that first buck that I talked about that I killed in super cold where I ran to the truck. I mean, that day I wasn't even prepared to hunt. I was just going to scout, and I found a spot that looked like amazing, decided to hunt, and boom, it happened that night. So, I mean, you know, when you find the right spot late season and all the conditions come together, it can be like the best hunting you've ever had, but you just have to be in the right area at the right time, you know?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well,
go
ahead.
Where can everybody find you? Whitetail DNA across the board?
Yeah. YouTube, Whitetail DNA or whitetaildna.com would be, you know, obviously Instagram too, but so.
It's awesome, dude. I mean, 1 hour with you, you can tell you have a wealth of knowledge, and I hope more people discover you because you got a lot to offer them.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of really good hunts too, like the crazy snowblind hunt. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go watch that. That's pretty cool. I think it's one of the coolest hunts I've seen.
It's one of my favorite. I have a few of them, but I have a t-shirt design based off that hunt that I had made like 3 years ago that will someday see the light of day.
There you go. Maybe we collab. Maybe we collab on it. We'll bring it to the light.
Heck yeah, I'd be down.
There you go.
might be a really cool shirt. All right. Well, if everybody, I don't even know what episode this makes, but this is the first one for 2025, and we have some really good content planned for this podcast. Hunter Hogan's hopefully too, and then a lot of good YouTube hunts, Mobile Venatics coming out that will contain guys like Alex. So, thank you for listening.